Hello, everybody. This is your weekly reading for Gemini. I'm trying something new on my channel and offering these weekly readings. They're not set up starting on Mondays or Sundays, but rather around for the moon phases. So we just had a full moon on the 19th, and so this reading will be from a couple days ago to the 26th of February when we have the last quarter moon, halfway in between the new and full moon. So this reading is for Gemini suns, moons, rising signs. And for any of you that join in, this is just going to be a general reading for Gemini, so I won't be answering personal questions as far as like personal readings in this video. But if you do have a question about the reading or something with Gemini, related sort of thing, then feel free to ask, and I'd be happy to answer your questions like that. But so let's go ahead and get started. I'm using the Enchanted Map deck by Colette Baron Reed. It's one of my favorite decks. All right, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and set the intention. This is for Geminis for the week after the full moon, leading up to the third quarter. So from around February 19th to February 26th, 2019. It's a general reading looking at the energies relevant, prevalent in your life, what sort of lessons you might be working on, any advice or guidance, encouragement from Spirit for all you Geminis out there. So I'm checking in right now, tuning in to see how many cards I'm going to draw for you today. Ah, how fitting. So out of this deck, I'm going to go ahead and draw two, and I may be drawing another from another deck. So I'll go ahead and shuffle. Alrighty, there's our two cards for Gemini. So the first card is the Bone Collector, and it was in the reversed position. And the number is 1. Bone Collector. It's always such a cool card to get. Kind of show it to you guys a little better because it's just such a neat card. Yeah, isn't that cool? So many neat little things. Okay, so this is in the reverse position, the Bone Collector. Let's see what we have for Gemini. The past has a way of repeating itself when you haven't learned the lesson inherent in the original situation. You're faced with this now. The Bone Collector is here to challenge you to see yourself as a whole being and not one who is perpetually trying to heal an old wound. You'll repeat the past if you don't reclaim the things you believe were lost. The information you seek lies in your history. Familiarity, in this case, isn't an invitation to dance the old dance once again. Instead, it is a call to retreat and choose differently. The bone collector has a message. If you do what you did, you'll get what you got. Her warning is delivered with kindness, for she has deep love and respect for you. She will protect you. So the big message here is twofold. On the one hand, it's talking about making sure that you're not addicted to healing. I know that may sound very strange, but there's a lot of people, myself included at times, have had this card and this position show up for me and have been very aware that, in the quest for wanting to be the most balanced and the most whole version of myself, that sometimes we forget that that wholeness already exists within us. When we're working on healing, we sometimes think that we are needing to add something that isn't already present within us. When in reality, what we're really doing is taking away what isn't part of us, because we are already born whole and perfect. It's the experiences and the ways we respond to them, as well as oftentimes conditioning of our surroundings or people in our lives, that adds things to us that isn't really true for us, or isn't really the best possible addition to us. So keep in mind when you are working on healing, for example, healing old wounds, or trying to change a pattern, an unhealthy pattern in your life, just keep in mind that you're already whole. Your quest is not to gain something that you don't already have. It's just to become aware of what you don't need. Simple as that. So, in addition, the second message of this card is to make sure and be aware of situations, and especially with people, and also very much so it can be like with work, where you might have a new opportunity come to you and you might feel really comfortable about it, and you might even have a good feeling about it. But be aware that that sense of comfort and familiarity can oftentimes come from an unhealthy sense of familiarity. Very, very common. This is why you see people who had, for example, a dysfunctional parent-child relationship in their childhood, oftentimes engaging with partners that reflect that same dynamic. And a lot of times at the beginning of those relationships, people might feel extremely comfortable with each other. Even throughout, even in the bad times, they might still feel very comfortable with each other. So sometimes, of course, that comfort can be a good thing. But this card is asking you to just really be aware of how perhaps, just really be aware of whether the situation feels comfortable and good because it's familiar in a bad way, because it's similar to past themes or archetypes in your life, or whether it's familiar in a good way because, you're having a reciprocal, mutual, balanced connection with this person or job or opportunity or what have you. So, and then of course also, to be aware that you definitely have that spiritual protection around you, this divine feminine sort of grandmother-like energy there protecting you. She tells it like it is, but she does love you, and it's only for your highest, good that she does share this information. So the second card is the Gentle Gardener, and it is also in its reverse position. Interesting. Wow, that's so cool. That happens so rarely. You guys saw that I did a fair amount of shuffling, so it's just interesting. We have 1 and 2 here. That just hardly ever happens for it to be in order, and they're both reversed. So, that also tells me that perhaps you're at the beginning of a situation. Um, you know, so that perhaps you have currently or in the next few days or so, you might be starting a new situation, a new opportunity, a new person, a new offer. Something new might be coming into your life, or you might be in the very early stages of something new. So you're just being asked here to make sure that you're not caught up in this pattern of always having to feel like you're having to improve yourself, to an extent that's taking it too far. Being remember that you have all that wholeness and goodness inside of you, and also to be aware of why it feels good or familiar. So, Gentle Gardener, do you harbor resentments? How often do you reinforce negativity by affirming lack and limitation? Every time you send out a desire for something, but secretly harbor a belief that you're undeserving of it, you plant weeds in the field of your dreams. When the Gentle Gardener appears in the reverse position, she reminds you to be aware of any negative thoughts or selfish motives. She encourages you to step back and pay close attention to what thought seeds you send out into the world. Weeds choke the life out of your beautiful garden. No need to fret, however, because once you recognize this, you can always remove a bad seed and replace it with a healthy one. Forgiveness is your most powerful restorative tool. So, again, with this card, I feel like there's 2 main messages. The first one being, holding on to resentments. Just a second, I need to take a drink real quick. And this really ties in to this bone collector here too. So, really ask yourself if you're holding on to resentments. Perhaps you have a pain from the past that you feel, perhaps part of you has wanted to heal it, but you have felt like you can't heal it. This card might be asking you to really take an honest look at any resentments or anger or lack of forgiveness that you might be experiencing in the situation. And it might be a really extreme situation. It might be something super severe that you experienced. But, and as hard as it can be sometimes you're being called and asked to look at things from a little bit of a different perspective. Especially if you're on a path of wholeness. If you are seeking wholeness, like I said, you already have that wholeness. But if you're seeking to really have your whole self be engaged in this life and not have like half of it covered up by your pain, by your negative experiences, by the things you tell yourself that really aren't true, but like tell yourself about yourself, if you're really wanting to shed those falsehoods and really step into a really much more joyful experience in this life, then you're definitely have to discover that way that you can in some way let go of that resentment and anger. And there's a lot of videos and people out there that talk about forgiveness. And it's a very touchy subject, and there's a lot of gray areas. But in one way, perhaps one element of forgiveness is just letting go of something. The anger, the pain, the resentment, that can't change the past. And it only harms you in the present and in the future, possibly. So perhaps you can discover a way to just let go of it. Just let go of it. Somehow, some way. And if you feel like you need help, ask for it. Ask Spirit to help you. Ask your guardians, your angels, your spirit guides, your soul, God, Goddess, whatever you connect to. Ask for that help, and you'll definitely receive it. The other thing that this card really talks about is about how when we're setting intentions, when we're we're creating the life that we want to live, right? And that when we have these negative thoughts, often about ourselves, our worth, our value, whether something we're working on is gonna work out or not. When we have these negative thoughts, they're talking about how they become weeds in the garden. But here's the thing: in a lot of, I'm sure you've all heard of like The Secret, manifesting your reality, and positive thinking, the impact of positive thinking, and all of that. There may be some truth to all of those things, but with this card, I feel like, there's another way that you can look at it. If you identify with positive thinking and all of that, if that works for you, if that's your path, that's great. Be aware of that. So you can just be aware of your thoughts. But there's another perspective. And it may also in some way actually be tied into the whole positive thinking movement. And that is that if you do not believe something about yourself, for example, if you don't believe something about yourself, then you could have that thing in your life on a very large scale, but you would not perceive it. You would not feel it. You would not be aware of it. So, for example, if you feel that you are unworthy of success, you could actually be experiencing various levels of success in your life, but you wouldn't really be aware of it. Or you might be aware of it, but because you feel that you're not worthy of it, you wouldn't actually be able to enjoy it. Same with love. If you feel you're not worthy of love, or if you feel like you are unlovable, then you could have love in your life. You could have people that love you, but you will not feel it. You won't be aware of it. So, there's that element of the whole thoughts impacting your garden of life. Sometimes it may not be about whether those the negative thoughts keep away those experiences. Those experiences very well and very often are present, but you're not aware of them. So you're not really able to engage. And then as far as you're concerned, they don't really exist. So for Gemini, let's see, I'm going to see and tune in really quick whether I should go ahead and draw any other cards for Gemini. Just give me a moment. Okay, yeah, I'm getting that these two really do cover it for you guys for this week. So be aware of, new activities and situations. Think about, remember you're whole as you are. You don't need to add anything to you to become whole. If anything, maybe you need to let some stuff go. And also just be aware that, if you have a certain perception of yourself, if you have a perception about your life that is negative or isn't very loving, then even if you have those more positive experiences showing up in your life, you're just not going to be aware of them. You're not really going to experience them to their fullest, extent if you're having those beliefs about yourself. So, what your worth is. So, look at that and see how you might be able to let some of those thoughts go, let some of those resentments or negative self-talk go. And the other one thing just to mention is that a lot of times for people that have had a lifelong, because first of all, people that have these really poor self-image sorts of thoughts often have that because family members, partners, friends, quote friends, society, various people and institutions have in one way or another, sometimes directly, sometimes more subtly, planted those seeds within your being. So it's important that as you are letting go of those seeds and pulling those weeds out, make sure that you're replacing them with loving, helpful thoughts. And, you can say positive affirmations to yourself. It can be really helpful to write some notes with positive messages. Basically things where you're taking away that negative phrase and replacing it with a positive one. So you may not have people in your life telling you these things, but you can tell yourself these things, and you can retrain your mind, with these more positive statements that are actually much more true than the weeds that you're pulling out. So I wish you lots of luck with all of this, and hope you have a great week. And hopefully I'll be doing another reading in about a week, around the 26th, for the following phase of the moon. If you'd like a personalized oracle card reading or tarot card reading or an astrology chart, I do personal birth charts and synastry charts, relationship compatibility. I also can do family charts, like with parent-child dynamics, that sort of thing. So astrology, I also work with human design some, and a few other modalities. But I have a website where I offer these services. It's www.theinneryou.com, and that is YEW, like the tree. And if you enjoyed this reading, please feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell. I offer free readings whenever I'm able on here on my channel. And also, please, I really appreciate any thumbs up or comments, and share with others on social media and all that good stuff. So hope you have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you again soon.